What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? It's been a hot little minute, bro. I ain't even announcing nothing today, dude. I'm just doing it. What's going on? If you're just getting introduced to me, my name is Joey Muggs. It has been a hot little minute, man. I even think the last time I was on, dude, I had orange, bro. I'm gonna have to change that up. Let me change it up, dude. Come on, somebody. Come on, dude. Let me make a little splash of red. What you think, dude? Should we go blue? I don't know. I think we should maybe go blue. Let's go blue today, dude. Let's go blue. You already know what it do. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. How are you? Okay. Been a hot minute. Um, Dude, so much has happened this year. It has been difficult to even pinpoint exactly how or what to talk about because there's been so much to share. And so I'm going to do my best to kind of stay succinct with you as I recap some things, and we'll kind of see where it goes. If you're just getting introduced to me, my name's Joey Muggs. All right, I am a uh, business professional by day. I am a Christian by life. All right, by night, I rap, dude. I give my life and my talents to Jesus. So I just hope to do that more faithfully every day as I continue walking. So when I started this channel, it was with the intention of doing a lot more kind of documentary film, short film style of my life and what my growth in Christ was looking like. As a matter of fact, it's what gave me the courage to go for it in terms of video editing and all that other stuff. Nowadays, fast forward, I am now implementing about a decade and a half, about 14 years. It's a little bit more honest to the day of my professional experience as a businessman, as a salesperson, as a marketing guy, as a number of these titles that fit really under what now is entrepreneurial. I've been diving in deeper into sharing that knowledge in a couple different formats. And so I'll be kind of covering what I've been up to, a snapshot of me professionally. Let's start artistically. Let's start there. Artistically, I started making music as a young man and didn't come to Christ until later in my 20s. By the time I had done so, I had grown up in a Christian home. I rejected the faith and came to become very spiritually curious as to why, how not anyone else in terms of faith, and how I landed on Christ being the answer, not being my own conclusion, but the most logical conclusion based on what I had studied and exposed to. I came to faith as a skeptic. Okay, I guess that's one of the ways to say that. Um, in that time frame, artistically, I was very concerned with rapping for Jesus. I thought that was kind of off the table, and I would just give that up as an old part of my life. But today, I'm very confident in being able to submit that gift and talent to Christ, knowing that being conscious as an artist of what it is that I am actually saying, being true to scripture, and still willing to be a storyteller and speak about what it is that I've gone through, right? The kind of anecdotal stuff, subjective stuff. I think that's important, man. So all that to come, to land the plane on as an artist. Went to school for audio engineering. I engineered for some time for a studio out here locally in Central Florida, and got really sick and tired of watching artists come in and share all this music and spend all this money on production. At the time, still burning CDs, and then buy CDs for us to burn, for them to write their name on it and go sling it out of a truck for a couple bucks. And I always loved the hustle. I thought that was super commendable and respectable. However, I thought that was a trash go-to-market strategy. So I found myself getting interested in the business side of the music business. And so with that, having children and getting, going on with life, growing up, I kind of had to put my own aspirations in the terms of the music side to the side for a while so that I can focus on business, make a couple bucks, right, and support my family. And so in that career, I always had this vested interest that when I come back to music, I'll be able to at least desk a deal or negotiate on my own behalf if I ever were to get picked up by some major label or something like that. Again, this is pre-Christ, and also knowing that that's where most people, even from a secular lens, I was able to pinpoint that's a problem. Like, artists get taken advantage of because they don't know better, because they're too focused on the craft. And then you compress time over the last decade and see how many people who are artists who aren't good, who get out, and whether or not they have in the Shark Tank lingo, 100% of a grape or 10% of a watermelon. These guys were killing it. They were known, they were making money. And so it wasn't dependent even on art anymore. So kind of, that was something that struck me. But anyhow, I kind of cover a little bit more ground here. I end up getting a set of chops professionally for sales, and I realized it's actually the most viable solution for me at the time. Originally, I in my youth had decided I wanted to join the military, and that ended up not working out for a number of reasons. And when that happened, at this point, I'm attending college. I'm like, dude, like I am attending for no reason now. Like these are the things that I thought were going to get paid off, dude. So now I'm, holding on to a bunch of debt, and I'm pursuing a degree I don't care about because it was for the express purpose of joining with some rank. So it was the wrong motive. Man, I saw how I got taken advantage of. I got sold on some things that I shouldn't have. And being that I was coming to sales and learning professionally what that meant, I also realized that being sold is also not manipulative. It's not a dirty word. It's how someone is sold on something, right? Like when you're sold out for your family, that's not a bad thing, and no one's manipulating you to think that. When you're sold out for what you believe, the belief itself, whether valid or not, is not what I'm going to pinpoint right now. I'm going to pinpoint the fact that being committed to something isn't wrong, in and of itself. But when does it ever stand alone? And so that's when you start peeling the onion a bit. But anyhow, so I started getting very deliberate about being a better businessman. And it took a lot, man. It took a lot over those first 10 years of this professionally. I've been selling forever, but since my early 20s, I found that honesty was important to me. Ethics were very important to me. And also the time that I was spending. I was originally, 90-hour work weeks aren't fun, bro, especially in your early 20s with a baby and a lady at the house. So that was very important to me to kind of get out that life, even though I enjoyed it and I learned a lot. What could I do different? So then I, got back into retail work again. I ended up working for a coffee spot, well known, it, certainly. And then I read a book while I was there, in addition to the sales training I had picked up that also impacted me as a businessman, where I learned how the then CEO owned the process, and he also owned the airwaves by buying some of the music and the royalties for the music that he was playing in the store. I thought that was so fascinating. It really opened my eyes to what would be possible in that regard. So I ended up leaving that place after some time. I realized it wasn't going to help me pay the bills anymore because of the sheer demand. I have a new baby on the way, and I realized that I'm living not even just paycheck to paycheck. I'm living tip jar to tip jar, right? Like I'm just trying to add so much service on the front end that people please put an extra dollar in there, and then work as many hours as I could so that I could actually, deserve a higher payout of that tip. So it was very, very stressful at that time. And so a few months before my second baby was born, I ended up rolling out. I left, I took a risk, and I went to go work for who was then the owner of this studio that I was beginning to work at. Originally, when I worked there, it was for the express purpose of kind of paying off my own studio time. So I was working there overnights, kind of, right? And very much taking it for just a few bucks at a time so that I could cash out, right? A credit toward me recording. And then as I started working with the business owner there, I also found out he had a second business in a car lot, which is what my original exposure to professional sales was, right? So I was like, man, this is a perfect match. I do that for about 2.5 months, because on the third month, which at that time, it was actually pretty wonderful. I'm working during the daytime at the car lot, and at nighttime, I'm working at the studio, which definitely impacted in the negative sense my family life. But I mean, I was after it to go get it. I come from a family that didn't have an inheritance for me to pick up. And so wanted to find a way to do that, so I'm here trying to chase my dream and chase a bag. This is still prior to coming to Christ. So when this happens on the third month, I end up getting stiffed for about $1,400. and it's a massive hit, massive, massive hit. I can't not only not pay rent, but a number of other things end up, under that belt as well because of this. And I get literally bullied out of it. Like what are you going to do about it? And I had no other recourse. So I was very much left out on a limb. Didn't know how I was going to make it. Ended up taking help from someone unexpectedly, very reluctantly. And yet the need was met. And as a result of this, submit myself to a traditional workforce. I go to work for a cell phone provider at the time, like retail store. And so I go to do this, and I'm there for close to 2 years. And within that 2 years, man, I'm doing well, but I'm not killing it. I am doing well enough, right? As one might think. Got 2 babies, a relationship I'm trying to maintain and sustain. And around, I don't know, man, maybe about a year and a half into that, I realize that like some of the training that I'm getting is so lackluster that like it's like, hey, you guys are in the red, you need to be in the green, and so stop sucking, do better, get in the green. And it's like there's no really training there. There's nothing that really put any meat on the bone for me to know what to do with. And so I start doing that, man. I start sneaking out during those meetings into the bathroom, and I'm watching live streams of a couple things, two different trainers, one that helped me when I was in the automotive space, and then one that was also in the automotive space, but in a different light, serving the dealer rather than a market. It was a marketing agency for dealerships. So I started doing that. Tapping into these, and I'm learning all these different tactics, particularly to psychology and sales, and most importantly, professionalism. So tactics used tactfully right now, being just a professional salesman and servicing people with things that they actually need by being better at discovery and better at qualifying and better at fulfillment and better at promising and delivering, not under promising to over deliver or under on both. Right. And man, one day I get told by my then manager for this retail store, he's like, dude, here, you guys are, you got nothing to do. Here's a paper. Go hit the parking lot and just leave a bunch of papers on people's windshield. And I was like, man, this is stupid. Like, what a dumb idea, man. Like, there's better ways to spend time, bro. And I think about my time back working in a car lot, and how I got successful was learning how to pick up a phone and running through the CRM, finding what were called old leads, dead leads, man, whatever you call it, they weren't called on. And so I called them, and I found referrals through that, and I found success, very good success actually, in doing such a thing. And as a matter of fact, that was another reason I left the car business, was because I got stiffed by on a SPIF, right, which is a salesperson incentive form, which, if you sell a certain amount of units, you get kind of a hookup, right? It's the carrot on a stick for salespeople, if you're kind of new to that terminology. So I got stiffed by the dealership. And then at the time, I was given counsel that if they're going to take advantage of you here, you should leave. And so now I've been taken advantage of again at the other place, the studio and the car lot, right? And then I get taken advantage of. Then I jump into this world where I'm selling in retail. And then in that retail world, I end up finding that I'm not being equipped correctly to do the job. And so it's driving me nuts, bro. You're telling me go hit the parking lot. And I don't know if you're like me, dude, but I hate it when I go to my car and I find it like an advertisement on the car. Like, dude, I got enough ads on billboards and walking and on my phone. I don't need it on my car, dude. And so it bothered me that this guy was thinking that I was going to do that. And so it really bothered me. So I decided to rebel in a very ethical way. No, dude, but what I will do is I'll look into this in our system, and let me find somebody to call. And I start making phone calls right there from the retail store. And as I do that, I end up coming across someone who is a customer, and they are in need of an upgrade. And the upgrade turns into, let me just open up a new line. And that open a new line turns into, well, I actually work for a taxi driving company, right? And I'm one of the drivers there, and they're going to help me pay for this. Oh, and so then I turn this one upgrade into a 30-line company business deal. And it's the biggest one that I've closed, biggest one at the store at the time that had happened, especially in this manner where I generated this out of a cold call, ultimately to somebody that was inside of the deal, inside of the CRM, a customer relationship management tool, for those of you who might not know. And so I'm like, dude, I can do this, bro. Like I'm on cloud nine because of this idea. And then I find out about a call center for a very well-known, established hospitality brand that you absolutely know as well. And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. Nobody, by the way, nobody grows up and thinks that they want to work in a call center. Not a single person. Nobody does that. And that's okay, right? At the same token, after being in this call center for some time, I saw so many people pull up in a brand new car and stop being homeless. And so some of these outlier, non-lovely types who are given an opportunity to work on a phone were finding ways to change their life, even though they hadn't had the skill before. They grew it, they developed it. And so I grew a real passion and desire for personal and professional development and people who also looked for the same, who wanted the same. And so I started training more. And the company of the two, I mentioned a little bit earlier, there were two companies when I was working in the phone retail store that I would sneak out to and listen to. Both of them at the time, like Periscope is still kind of new on live streaming, right? It's not even bought by Twitter yet. And so I don't think, right? And if they were, I think that's what happened, right? They're branded different, but neither here nor there. There's just different streaming new platforms that are popping up. And so I was listening to these guys on that. And then I end up answering a few questions on some of those live streams, and I end up winning like $100 here and there. And because I'm answering the questions for things, for being plugged into what they're training in house. And it comes to a point where one of those guys, one of the two that were doing these live streams, calls me out and says, bro, fill out an application. You should try. I like to see it. And dude, I get fired up and I do it. I fill out the application, submit it. I go, I get interviewed. And then, dude, by the way, this job is 2 hours away from me. Okay. 2 hours south of Orlando, where I'm living at the time. And I don't care. I'm willing to do it. Let's give it a shot. All right. Let's give it a shot. And for the next 2 years, okay, for the next 2 years, I drive from Monday to Friday to Tampa, which is a 2-hour drive, one-way commute. So that's 4 hours in a car, 3.5, right? If we're looking at no traffic, but if you look at I-4, dude, if you know anything about Florida, dude, there's traffic, okay? It's flat. And that was a 4-hour trip each day, 2 hours to get to work, to bang the phone for 80 to 120 dials easily. 80 was when I was being productive. 120, 150, 200 dials on days that I'm just sucking wind, getting my teeth kicked in, especially as a new guy on this kind of an aggressive sale where I'm calling on the automotive space to sell them an agency offer, a marketing agency offer that costs 15 grand. Okay. Very high ticket offer, very high ticket, highest I've ever sold at one time on a cold call, even to this day. Dude, one of the best experiences of my life. I learned a lot about business and leadership, and I learned a lot about grit, and I learned a lot about how to adapt. I learned a lot, man, about what it takes to be a professional. Because here's the thing, right now, I might be wearing a little suit here, got the beard, right? Maybe you like my cologne, maybe you don't, right? The point is, on the phone, nobody has the same senses that they do when they can judge you based on how you look or smell or any of those other things, right? There's a lot of less preconceived notion, aside from maybe your name that might be a tell. But other than that, all of these other 5 senses that we have, the 5 in total, they get heightened because now, like if I were to, and this is an example I give when training, right? If I talk like this away from my desk and my feet kicked up on the desk, you can hear it, right? Like you can tell when somebody's laying down on the phone and talking to you from their bed than when they're sitting upright. And so I learned just what it's like to be in the matrix kind of sales and see these things and know what's going to be said on a call and how someone's responding and are they engaged or are they playing Candy Crush on their phone while they're yepping you, right? All this stuff happens. I end up becoming a sales trainer there and leading a platform at the time to help sell sales training. Very, very impactful experience for me. And then my life starts to fall apart. And then everything else, like at this point, from moving or making the 2-hour trip, I end up moving closer to this place so that I don't have as big of a drive. I go way underwater in terms of just my financial commitments, man. I got a new car that I thought I was going to use to make the commitment of the drive. And now I don't need that, but I just got into it because I got a new crib and I'm close to so it's all this mess, right? And I make mistakes that every young man, I think, does financially, right? Where you have lifestyle creep, especially when you're trying to preserve things based off of your financial contribution to it. That's not how you save the interpersonal stuff like hearts, Okay. And not that we save hearts. Okay. That's up to Christ alone. But what I am going to say is that even people who are outside of Christ still understand when somebody has heart in their message, right? When they're treating them with a sense of care. So before we end up diving into theology, I am going to continue kind of talking about how I got here professionally. And so in this course, when this happens, man, my family starts to fall apart, dude. Things just to get hit a critical mass. And it requires me to drop working at this career that I've been building for the sake of trying to preserve and reconcile so my family can stay together. And so I leave, right? I have the opportunity to fight where I'm at, and I choose to leave instead. And it's one of the hardest decisions of my life, because I'm actually in what would be considered the right vehicle, right? Meaning the right business that doesn't cap me on potential. They're focused on my development, and I'm around people who care, which, by the way, Christian company, a bunch of Christian men I'm around, these people end up really ministering to me in the very beginning of my walk. Like I remember coming into work one of those days, talking a couple months after coming to Christ, right? Like, have you guys read Romans yet? This is ridiculous. This is amazing. And just blown away and seeing how well those men catered to taking care of my mind and not allowing me to fall into unnecessary persuasions about things because that was their persuasion. So I'm very grateful for that. The Lord preserved me in that time. So, fast forward, things fall apart. I end up coming back here closer to the Orlando side of town. And when I do that, I go back to work for this hospitality provider, same call center, except now I am with the intention of trying to move into a training role, since now I have this training background and I think I can impact the entire call center, but I have to prove my worth first. So for the first 6 months, I'm working overnights. At the time, this is before COVID, right? So, at the time I'm working 6 p.m. to 2 in the morning, right? And it was nuts, bro. It was nuts. I think it was actually 1 in the morning, and I would get out. I was 6 to 1, and then I would get out. I would go to the gym. I would work out, and then for a time, even while I was trying to get my legs under me, found myself living out of a vehicle for some time. So I was doing the very thing that most people who end up homeless but have a vehicle end up doing, which is using the gym as somewhere to go, shower. And so I have video of all this stuff, dude. I have. This is kind of what's also neat about video documenting yourself rather than trying to create content. This right here is, in a sense, documenting my thoughts out loud rather than trying to deliberately create something polished. And I've been scared of doing that, man, which was back to the beginning of this video. The reason I started this was to document my growth in Christ. And so I think by being a little bit more unfiltered this way as a live stream, I'll be able to kind of show you who I am a little bit better than some of the polished stuff that I really desire to do. And am in a petition showing you where I'm at today as a result of what's been happening in the last few months, man. Right. I think that's in the description here, right? Quick catch up on everything that's happened. So kind of catching you up on the backstory up to where we're at today. And so anyhow, I go to this company, right? I stay there for 6 months, 8 months. I finally get the opportunity to switch my schedule to work daytime. Now I'm around people who make that decision to switch. Where does someone go, right? I meet those people. They see my character. They see my sales style. They start pairing me up with newbies that come around, or for veterans even, who are kind of interested in what I'm doing. And I'm not the highest producing guy, but I'm certainly the most in selling the specialty package, the one that they have a agreement with another company. So they like me, man. I'm not the highest volume, but I sell at a high rate and close at a higher rate the things that are specific to their business initiatives and their partnerships. And that's an important detail. So knowing how to do this more complex sale ends up benefiting me to a great degree. I end up becoming a trainer at this place and start training their outbound team. So first I'm doing inbound, actually selling. Then I start training and selling on the outbound side, which is what I had just come from. And so it gets really intense, man. It gets very intense. And I start building curriculum. I start hosting these little boot camps, and I'm killing it, right? Then I get hired out. This is now covering about 4 or 5 years in my most recent history. I get hired out from the call center to sell technology to the call centers and to mid-market business. So platforms like this, right? StreamYard is what I'm using now, but whether it's Zoom or Microsoft Teams, or if it's a phone platform, I'm not going to get into a bunch of names and stuff. Cybersecurity, if it dealt with technology in the business, I dealt with it. And that was a humbling experience, because what it taught me was it was only by the Lord's grace that I got that job. I wasn't nearly as successful on the sales side because I had to understand a completely different type of sales approach, and that structure wasn't built yet. So it required me to be adaptable and to also be willing to try new risky things, especially since there really wasn't a model for me to follow in this light. And then COVID happens, which changes the model as it stands anyway, from going and shake hands and meet people and do networking events. Ain't nobody was trying to leave, bro. Ain't nobody was trying to leave, at least as to these events that were required to go to, like these big conferences. Nah, people, it's funny when things opened up again, people were very unwilling to go to certain places, like conferences. They're like, oh yeah, so worried about it. And then still, as concerts opened up, they would go, right? So it kind of taught how people were being a lot more selective that way. So anyway, fast forward to now. What does this have to do with now? This year I moved. I'm still in Florida, but I move. In that move, I also lose my mother. My mother passes away, which is a very sudden way that happened. Actually, a couple days after Mother's Day this year, I get married. Right, I had children prior to coming to Christ, but I got married after coming to Christ. So I get married a month after, and then a month after that, I no longer have that steady employment that I've had for the last 4 years. And so for the last like 5 months, give or take, it has been rough, dude. Like I've been scrapping. I started building my own kind of consulting and coaching firm, which was kind of unexpected, but people were asking me to help them. So I started teaching, what I learned and what people liked about my sales style and what I had learned from the direct sales, aggressive marketing approach to, and very like guerrilla marketing, to the consultative, slow the process down, qualify things correcting, have better questions, build relationships. Like I was able to really gel these two styles together in a way that from a biblical worldview is not really promoted often. And so I start kind of seeing where my value proposition is, how it's different. But man, I'm scrapping, dog. Like I'm not only doing that and I'm not only helping people that way, but I'm also picking up a quick gig to go knock doors, right? For roofing, bro. Like I'm trying to just figure it out. I'm just trying to figure it out, all while managing the new marriage, which even with relationship, there being some interpersonal relationship built in, marriage just, changes things in a positive light. And then most communication and financial problems that stress marriage are heightened, bro, like to the highest degree. Plus the recent passing of my mom, plus. Well, my bank account's looking minus, dog. It's scary. And I've really got a chance in this last several months to depend upon the Lord in ways that I never realized I needed to, had to, should have been, all that ought to. And so I'm very, very grateful to Christ, because in this time frame, one thing that happened was being drawn closer in my relationship with Christ in my suffering, and knowing that my Lord does not leave me. Like there was literally, dude, there was literally an instance when I'm driving down the road and I remember in a very heartbroken way telling God, like, I just don't want to be alone. And very quickly was I reminded in my spirit, nobody was in the car with me, just me and God and the road, that he promises that he will be with me until the end of the age. And so today, as a student, as a disciple of Christ, I certainly am leery whenever it comes to eisegesis, right? Which is inserting myself into the text. How do I determine what this text means? However, in that moment, I really had this uncanny sense of like, man, if I was the only human on planet Earth right now, like that verse applied to me. Like he was with me. He was with me. And many more since then, dude. The Psalms have been a balm to a broken heart, man. Ecclesiastes, seeing some of the heartbrokenness of the great men in the Bible that were used. This has been a wonderfully maturing time, which has hurt a lot. It's hurt a lot. And I'm grateful, because today I report to you that I am now, of the two people that I talked about working, listening to their training, right, and helping them. One of them I went and worked for, right? And then now I work for the second one, which is an unbelievable godsend. I am uniquely qualified for this role. I couldn't be more prepared for this kind of a role, and it's remote. Okay. So, and I have the ability to work for him remotely and do what I'm great at, which is serve people and find out how to help them based on what the product offering is. Now, mind you, while I'm part of this machine, I'm also very cognizant of the fact that I have a very high desire to maintain a biblical worldview, even in this context. Of course, that's going to be first and foremost, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm parenting, whether I'm husbanding, right? Dude, I'm a Christian first, dude. Even as I love my country, I love America, bro. There's normally a big old American flag right here, dog. I'm a Christian even before that, right? I'm a Christian that happens to be Puerto Rican. Okay, I'm not putting nothing before that, dude. And so, um, this experience is very unique for me because I have like this playlist I've been working on. If you're interested in business stuff and kind of the way I talk about business, you could see some of that in a playlist I have. I believe it was previously titled Faith Based Entrepreneur. Now it's titled Graceful Grounds. And I think I'm trying to get away from that. So if you could help me come up with a good name, I'd appreciate it. If you're seeing this now or on the replay. But Graceful Grounds is more on the business approach, maintaining a biblical worldview. Mugs with Marketers is dealing with marketing in an unconventional way. These are podcasts, playlists on this YouTube channel that you're seeing this on. What's in Joe's Cup is meant to be a little bit more off the cuff, a little bit more kind of like this. So I don't know if this will fit under that because this is kind of just giving an introduction. Maybe I'll put it. Okay. In a moment, I'll be playing a very short clip of some of the things I've stitched together. And so if you happen to be watching this live, I'd appreciate it. If you can let me know, first of all, is the audio working? Okay. Kind of important after 30 minutes of being in this deal to know whether or not the audio is clear, because I've done a multicast stream and I sounded like a chipmunk while I was talking about of like manliness and the need for men to be men. It was ridiculous after like an hour. So what's up? If you're new to the stream, new to me, my name's Joey Muggs. I'm a Christian. I'm in business. I think we should be bold in front of the throne of grace of God because we're commanded to, and we ought to be just as bold in the marketplace. There's no reason that I can logically think or deduce that as a man after God, that if I belong to him and because I belong to him, I am commanded to stand in front of him boldly. Why ought I not stand in the marketplace boldly? Why ought I not do that? What would be wrong about me claiming a portion of the marketplace, being a better steward of what this professional skill set has been developed into, serve the Lord and claim that Christ is king as a part of that? It's part of the business proposition, bruh. Okay. What's your problem? You got a problem with it? Okay. We're going to be inclusive for everybody else except for the Lord. Come on, dog. Come on, dog. So, man, I'm very excited. I happen to have a complete change in my life, dude. This is a massive update and change, where I'm able to work remotely and continue building this personal brand, and record more music and, teach people from a biblical worldview how to serve people better in their industry. And then point them in the direction of some of the best sales training available. I think that's a valuable thing that I can take pride in a healthy way now. There's this like, it's funny, right? Like we recognize how these isms get in the way sometimes. Like we ought not to be prideful, but it's nothing wrong with being proud of the work you've done or proud of your children. And yet, depending on where you are in your walk, you'll want to kind of address and confront these things. And I don't think it's bad as much as I observe this now, right? Like, the guy who has too much fire and brimstone, that guy also doesn't get the same grace that we give the guy who's teaching straight up heresy. Weird, because more people will defend that guy. It's weird. So on this channel, I hope to be able to really kind of parse out in a consumable way approach to business, an approach to service, an approach toward your walk with Christ that would, Christ said, what is it, in context of losing your soul for gaining the world. What does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? And I wonder if we're able to ethically create a business because of the gift and talents that the Lord has given you and that you've taken the time to develop by being diligent, to steward that appropriately and be able to serve the Lord through your business, right? This is not to replace the Lord with business or make an idol out of business. What it is to say is that there is a single mom in church that needs funding for a single dad. Let's be real. When I became a single dad, dude, I saw how hard it was to find like institutionalized support. There really is not much, bro. There's not. And men go through something very unique, I think, in terms of the lack of literature there to help deal with your mind after going through like a family separation like that. There's a lot of care that's available, at least publicly or more accessibly for women. And I'm not knocking that. I am stating observably it is less obvious for men. And so like when you're going through the psychological betrayal of your heart with someone you've entrusted it with, you start to question your decision making on all kinds of stuff. And so my point is that there's a point where men need to be cared for, you know. And when I started this is actually what led me on my path to seek the Lord, was I was able to recognize all this evil out there, and I recognized the parts of me that matched out there. And I'm like, well, by what standard is this evil? How do I know it's evil unless there's something good? And how could I believe in demons and not a God? And there's all these things that unravel, you know, and in a very positive light, because it put me on a pursuit to look for the truth, even if I didn't like it. Thank you. I appreciate that the audio is clear. Thank you for the heads up. So, you know, with all the things that have come to pass at this point, I find that, you know, being consistent about how to serve people, and be, again, a better steward. My goodness, if you, I'm gonna speak as a straight Christian, okay? If a single mom needs help in the church, bro, like somebody as a businessman, somebody as an investor, somebody has to be responsible with their finances to be able to help her. And so, yes, we would hope that the body would come alongside her and help. And yes, there's benevolence funds, but sometimes, man, they're not able to catch some of the stuff that falls between the cracks. And so beyond the single parent that has a school that needs a scholarship funding, and I don't mean for college, I mean just for like homeschool, dude, for some of the materials that's needed. What about the other things, man? Like, it's one thing to have time freedom and it's one thing to have money freedom, but normally you don't have both, right? If you do have the money, bro, you normally have golden handcuffs and you're stuck to the business. And if you have the time, bro, you got energy, you got creativity, but you don't got the bread, okay, to really do the thing. And so what does it take to do both? I don't know. I'm figuring that out. And I think I'm on to something, bro. I think I am. And I'm going to go ahead and make the bet. Okay. Not a betting man, but if I was, I'd bet on this. Right. And so how I show up will be important. How I'm able to conduct these live streams when there's one person or nobody who's watching, two people who are watching right now, and give quality, honest information that leads to application. Okay. Because I don't want you to become information constipated either. So some of these ideas I've recorded and I've started to unpack to write out so that it would be an easy consumable separate mediums other than video. Because, dude, we don't watch, if you look at just the data, the younger crowds don't watch TV like the older crowds, but we spend time on YouTube and we do this a lot. Right. I posted on my X account a couple days ago, dude. If you think that overeating is bad, but you doom scroll, then you misunderstand gluttony, which is true. Right. We find ourselves here in an era where we have access to so much information. And the last thing you need is more data. What you need is application of the data that you have. What you need is an encourager to put you in the direction and to give you the right data, if any, that's going to help support you on a path that is consistent with your beliefs, that or that challenges your beliefs to either reinforce them or to help you break the spell, get out from under the ether, dog. You know, that's what needs to happen. So I'm super grateful for this opportunity. Both work-wise, I'm grateful to the Lord first and mostly. for his patience and kindness with me. Because I'll tell you what, dude, if I was God, dude, I wouldn't have been this patient. I would have been upset with who I am and how I think. And, I just want to address this with you real quick. If you speak negatively about yourself, stop it. Cut it out. Cut it out. Very easy to say when it's not you saying it to yourself. But I want to encourage you with this idea. If the good Lord has said something about you and stamped you with an approval of good standing because of your belief in his son, whom he loved so much that he didn't send him into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Okay? And you go out of your way to say something negative about yourself, you are trying to overthrow a judgment that the gavel has slammed on from God about who you are. So stop it. Stop it, please. For your own sake, for the sake of those you are called to impact, cut it out. You won't do it for you, do it for somebody else. Okay? You won't, but you should do it for you, right? It says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and then love your neighbor as yourself. How do you do that if you don't know how to love yourself? How do you love yourself or your neighbor if you don't know who God is when God is love? How do you do that? It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. It's an impossible task. And so I hope to gently confront some ideas. And in some ways, bro, in some ways, be abrasive, because I'm a little abrasive. That's my personality style. And I have been encouraged by brothers who hear my theology and who work with me through those things and disciple me, that the good Lord, he's going to conform us more into his image. But the benefit of having 12 different men for that first group, right, is their different backgrounds. Because frankly, like the way that a tax collector who has abandoned his people and has come back to God after working, dude, you got to think, as a tax collector at that time, dude, the Romans hated him, and so did the Hebrews. Everybody hated that guy. So he's like, I might as well get paid, bro. Like, tax collectors, he's gonna skimp on it. Why not? So how he and a zealot, right? Simon the Zealot, those are way different lifestyles, bro. That was like a religious sect, right? Of people. So my point is that, like, I have no interest in winning you to a denomination. But if I did have a desire, okay, there's two things I'm gonna maybe say out of this. I hope to maybe clarify and land a plane here for you. And near the end of Acts, Paul ends up in front of Agrippa, King Agrippa, somewhere in the late 20s, right? 24, 26, something like that. And King Agrippa's like, Paul, you would have me become a Christian so quickly, right? And he says in response to him, yes, most excellent. No, I think he says this about Festus, but he does tell the king, yes, I would that everyone would be just like me, minus these chains, bro. Minus, because at this time he's arrested. He's appealing in a court. And so he goes, yes, I would have you become like a Christian. And everybody else who's within earshot, minus my chains. Praise the Lord for that. My hope is that you would be one to Christ. That's what I hope. Okay, that you would come to love God. And I'm going to be real with you on this. If I tell you Jesus loves you, bro, and you don't even believe God exists, we're starting on two different blocks. And I think that matters. I care about you. I know you personally, but I care about you. I care about your heart. I care about your soul. And I care about the way that you treat your family. I care about the way you treat yourself. And in that way, I got your back. I support you, even if, maybe we disagree on some things that are pretty significant. What I do think is that there is some substantial evidence that would say that regardless of our beliefs, we all believe something. And so if I can help challenge that so that you either concrete yourself into what you believe and you develop a backbone to speak up about it, praise God. Good. Conviction's a good thing, right? You have conviction when you speak. So aside from your soul and the desire that you would be one to Christ, not to a denomination, okay? That's not what's important. It's him. You don't follow Christians, you follow Christ. All right? So point A, primary point, that's down. The point B, you would be excellent at business. You should be. You should be excellent at business. You should be, if you are a Christian, all things, both word and deed, should be done as if unto the Lord. So people should know you by that. It bothers me that Christians on Sundays after church tip the least amount. And who knows if that statistic is true or how accurate it is. But somehow it rings true. And so why is that, man? Why is it that instead of paying the most and extra, right? If I have a handyman in my network, right? Why don't I pay him the most? And then seek him specifically. If he happens to be a brother, even better. But like, I should be known for that, for being a giver. And not everyone's going to have the gift of giving. I'm going to be straight up on that too. But if you have the wherewithal, I mean, for goodness sake, there are people younger than us, dumber than us, who are making tens of thousands of dollars every single month. How, bro? Maybe it's not meant for you or for me, but I do know that you're probably more capable than what you're acting on. If you're anything like me, you certainly have potential that's untapped and in the reserve tank. And there's an old motivational speaker by the name of Les Brown who made this example once. At least I heard this from him, where he talked about being surrounded. Imagine you're on your deathbed and you're surrounded by all of the things that accumulate your potential, right? Like your desire to be a certain kind of a driver. Maybe you want to be a driver or something, or actor or actress, or maybe you want to be an author, and all these ambitions and dreams. And if they were actualized into avatars of people and they were standing around your deathbed going, now we have to go to the grave with you. Because you didn't release us, now we have to die with you. Bro, I hope that bothers you as much as it bothers me, because surely there is untapped potential in your life. There is no doubt. There's something you've dreamed about that you think could still be possible, or you refuse to believe it's still possible because you don't know something. Look, dude, if you knew better, you would do better. It's not always true. You know how to get a six-pack, but you don't have one. In most cases, I know I don't. Why? It's because I'm not doing something about what I know. So maybe it's not so much about if I knew something, I would do something. Maybe there's a gap in skill there that I'm missing. And I hope to tap in on that with the second point, that you should be better in business, because whether you are a carpenter or a musician or a airplane mechanic, okay, what doesn't matter. It all comes back to your ability to communicate it clearly and to be able to make the perceived value of that not only be less than, in terms of like, when someone exceeds the perceived value of it, they'll pay more for it. They'll pay for it in general. So it's not that I don't want you to deliver on these things. I want you to over deliver because you can be that committed to being great. But what I am trying to point out is the fact that the only reason somebody's going to pay for this out on the streets and not wait till they get home is because the value of it perceivably is better in the streets at the moment when I wanted it. You know what I mean? So there's value and then perceived value. Your ability to communicate that clearly is extremely important, because even if, and this is, kind of a lesson I picked up while working for the cell phone provider, which was the highest paid salesman in that place, hated sales. He actually wanted to be an airplane mechanic, come to think about it. And one of the things that I remember telling him was like, dude, you need to learn what you're doing that's so good. Because one day, then come a point where if you get to be an airplane mechanic and work in a hangar all by yourself, you're going to have to negotiate the rate that you're worth. And you're also going to have to get attention for someone to pick you instead of every other airplane mechanic who wants to work alone in the hangar. So it still requires you to sell, dude, even if you want to be alone. Even if you work an hourly job versus a commission job, the only difference is you're pre-negotiating your rate of worth hourly or annually. Commission requires you give something to the marketplace, which is a risk. I would find it more risky from my worldview to pre-negotiate that, especially if I have no ability to impact it during the year. Both of these actual methods work. Both of them can harmonize, bro. I had a friend sit down with me once, and this friend is very valuable to me. I sat down. I love coffee. If you didn't know, my name's Joey Muggs. I got a tattooed on my hand. I really like coffee. I do. Okay. It's a lot. But, to not get on a tangent here, we go to get a cup of coffee. And the guy sees how much I enjoy the process because I worked as a barista and I was a shift supervisor and I know the experience. And so he tells me, man, when he sees how driven I am by helping them help me have a better customer experience. He's like, bro, it would be irresponsible for you not to own a coffee spot so that you can teach other people how to do it. And in order for you to do that, you can't be the one that makes your own coffee. You have to allow someone else to serve you, and you have to be in a position to train someone else to serve others. Drop the mic. Drop the mic. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Are you finding this valuable? I hope you are. If you are, you could, smite thine like button. I'd appreciate that. That helped me out a little bit, right? Whether you're watching this now or in the replay, I really mean it. Smite thine like button. I'd appreciate it. Because, who's going to promote you if you're not, right? I don't got a bunch of sponsors. I was this close to putting on a bunch of affiliate links for things that I do use on this video. And I don't want to say I don't care because I do, but not enough to have that affect your user experience. That matters to me. And I think that's part of the sauce that I have that is different. Like, I care about the customer experience. I care about what you go through. So even in the context of this video, as unscripted as it is, it's done a recap. It has shared a little bit about my backstory. And if you'd entertain it in a moment, I'm going to play a clip that montages a little bit of my history. And I'm still figuring it out, dude. You might not like it. I don't know. How would I know unless you saw it? And how would you see it unless I promote it? Okay. This is so important. This is so important because this is back to the business. That's needed, bro. You need to promote. You need to know how to market. You need to. And once they're out of being just simply generally in the market and into the sales cycle, you also need to know how to sell. And when you need to stop selling and start closing, and when you need to follow up, those are all completely different skill sets that are part of the tool belt, right? Like, most mechanics have more than one tool, dog. Most people in trade work have more than one tool. Do you know these things? Is this foreign, what I'm talking about, right? These are things that matter. On the biblical side, right? How will they know? How will they hear? Faith comes from hearing. How will they hear if no one ever goes to them? If no one ever preaches? If no one ever disciples? The Lord said, go and make disciples, bro. That's what the Lord said. Go make disciples. Are you discipling somebody else, man? Are you being discipled? Are these things that matter to you? Or are you content sitting on your hands as a Christian, thinking if the Lord wants to do it, he will? Because here's the thing. I 100% believe in the Lord's sovereignty. I also recognize the desire, the temptation rather, to fall into fatalism and to think that if the Lord's going to do it, he's going to do it. Hey, that's true, bro. If this was a wooden chair, I want you to think about this, bro. Okay. The Lord didn't grow a chair out the ground. He did grow a tree. So maybe I can carve it, and maybe that might take some skill, especially if I want it to be a comfortable seat or an aesthetically pleasing, comfortable seat, right? In 2 Peter 1, he talks about confirm your election, confirm it. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen already, but dude, confirm it. How? By being diligent. How? By not being forgetful of how you were cleansed of your former sins. How? By steadfasting in all of these very specific areas. It's like a cheat sheet, dude. One of my favorite passages to go to, and certainly one I think I'll probably start with again tomorrow. But as we tail this off, man, I want you to take a look at this video. Let me know your thoughts, man. Okay, whether you're watching this right now or in the replay, dude, I'd appreciate it. Okay. So let me know what you think. Okay. There's going to be some, I might maybe put some music on first. Let me do this, right? First, turn this up. And I made the beat too, bro. Everything you're seeing here, guys. Watch.
Serial Sales Pro Boot Camp right now. Getting into our group discussions. Before we get to Q&A, we wanted to give the guys a chance to partner up into their teams and ask them questions that are relevant to their business. One thing that we really focus on, guys, is your mindset. You can learn a word track, they're great. Rebuttal's great. But unless you know the right mindset to get that person in front of you and to genuinely care about them, it makes no difference.
2011, I really started taking this career as a true career path as opposed to finding jobs to switch for. The reason I think that's relevant is because over that time, beginning my journey, was working the phones, understanding a little bit more about how customer journey matters from the front end on that first point of contact. Because I'm running out of time. I ain't even got a watch on today. Okay, what is more important, training or tools? For pulling back and reassessing. Also, while I have your attention, if you didn't know this, the reason I started my YouTube channel, this channel right here, hopefully that you're watching on. Oh, looking for a new channel, were you? You found it. Ching ching. Music. I want to give a quick layout of what to expect on this channel and what you'll find inside. On Wednesdays, we podcast. That's going to be the What's in Joe's Cup Wednesdays. I'm excited to share that with you. So if you're into this kind of content, maybe you stick around because things are going to get weird here pretty quick. I can't wait. It'll be fun. Come on. What's in Joe's Cup? I know. Do you? So that's what I got going on in a nutshell. I'll tighten it up. I'll put together a couple different of these different ebooks so that I can offer for free for anyone who would be interested in kind of picking up my brain, some of these different contexts. But ultimately, my desire is to make sure that I'm as sincere as I can be with you here during this process. Okay, show you who I am, where I'm at, and how the Lord has been sustaining me through it. So if it helps support you, if it helps you grow in business, if it helps you most importantly grow with the Lord, man, I'm here for it. And so I got your back. I'm in your corner. Be bold in the marketplace. You're called to be bold in front of the throne of Christ. So you ought to be bold in the marketplace too. And look, man, all knowledge and wisdom are hidden in him. Okay. So even if you don't know everything, you do know if you have him, you got all that you need. God bless you. Grace to you. Let's catch up again soon, would you?